Beyond the Mic with Sean Dillon.
We're joined on the Starline by journalist, managing editor at Stereogum, and former reporter at Columbus Alive. His debut book is Such Great Heights, the complete cultural history of the indie rock explosion. We welcome Chris DeVille.
Thanks for having me.
Chris, let's go beyond the mic. How did Liz Phair, Radiohead, and Teenage Riot change your life?
For me, it was like, I grew up just kind of listening to whatever rock I was hearing on radio or MTV. I'm on the older side of millennial. So like I was in high school when nu metal was happening, and there was a lot of like Korn, Limp Bizkit, Deftones kind of thing. And then when I discovered Radiohead, that was like, oh, maybe this is, I'm kind of a little bit nerdier. I'm maybe not like, maybe nu metal isn't like, the thing that speaks to my soul. And so when I discovered Radiohead, that ended up being kind of a pathway into all these other bands that had existed for years, and I just wasn't aware of them. And it was just like, I loved the music itself. I loved I felt like it was really dynamic. I felt like it was, there was a lot to like about the music itself, but there was definitely an aspect of it too, where it was like, wow, this is my little secret. And like, I've become privy to this secret world, and it's so exciting and exclusive. And so then, as always happens, the thing that is underground starts to bubble up. Then a lot more people become aware of it. And that's kind of what the book is about, is like this generation of indie bands, circa like maybe Y2K going forward on into the 2010s, how they blew up, how the music changed, how the culture around the music changed, and even like how indie rock sort of morphed into a form of pop music eventually.
When researching this book, how many times did you get lost in listening to music and loving music again?
Oh man, there were so many times where it was like, oh yeah, I'm flashing back to college right now. Like, I have a lot of really intense personal memories associated with this stuff, and I think a lot of people from my generation, especially if they ever consider themselves like an indie music fan, they're going to have the same personal connection. I tried to write the book in a way too, where people who lived through this, really almost anyone who's a millennial, even if they weren't particularly indie focused, I tried to write it in a way where it touched on sort of the experience of growing up at that time. Like, in the first chapter, I'm talking about AOL Instant Messenger and stuff. Like, I tried to put those little, touch points in there where anyone can relate to it, like even if they were not the biggest Arcade Fire fan.
Each chapter of your book is accompanied by a soundtrack. Which song was the hardest to leave out from the soundtracks?
Oh man, that's a good question. There were so many that I wanted to put on there. I limited myself to 20 songs per chapter. Honestly, I couldn't even just name one. There were times when I was even writing the book too, where I was like, well, I've got to have another couple paragraphs here where I'm just listing off bands that were important in that moment. My editor wisely stepped in and was like, this paragraph is basically just like a list of band names, and you probably don't need that. But that's one of the funny things. It's called the complete cultural history of the indie rock explosion. But I know that it's not complete. Like, it can never be totally complete unless you turn it into basically Wikipedia. But I like to think that I captured, a pretty wide reach.
It sets you up for a sequel. Such Great Heights, the complete cultural history of indie rock explosion, is the book. Chris DeVille, the author, and he joins us beyond the mic. And Chris, it's time for the Rockin' 8 random questions. Answer with the first thing that comes to your mind. There's no pressure.
Okay.
What's the biggest impact ACRN made to your life?
Oh man, ACRN, great station. That's the college radio station at Ohio University. Biggest impact was probably the people who I met there, who ended up turning me on to so many bands. Like, if you find a person who or a few people who have great taste then, that's like kind of having a pipeline directly to you. And even one of the people who I made friends with at ACRN lives in Chicago now. I'm going to crash with him when I go see Oasis next week. So, those relationships, that's one of the things. All this music is so tangled up in your personal experience, and relationships are a big part of it.
Best Ohio Bobcat basketball game you ever saw live?
Ooh, the best one. We didn't win, but I went to, when we were in the NCAA tournament, we played against the Florida Gators when it was Joakim Noah and all them in 2005. That's when I was in college, and I drove down from Ohio to Nashville to watch the game, and we were down by 20 points in the second half and ended up coming back and tying it. That was very thrilling, even though we didn't get the win.
First album you bought, and do you still have it?
First album I bought with my own money was a CD of 16 Stone by Bush, and I do still have it.
Last soccer game you attended?
Last one I attended was actually in Miami. I go to a lot of Columbus Crew games here in Columbus, and my family was on vacation in the Florida Keys, and we realized that the Columbus Crew was playing at Inter Miami, where Messi plays, and so we drove up the Keys to Fort Lauderdale and caught that game in the end of May.
Yes or no? Have you seen the college radio documentary 35,000 Watts?
I have not. I really want to.
Who is the most talented person you've worked with at Stereogum?
Tom Bryan. He cranks out an insane amount of articles. The long ones, the short ones, they're all very smart and funny and insightful, and I don't know how he does it.
Most underrated band of all time?
The Dismemberment Plan.
Best Columbus dive bar?
Ooh, if you want to go see some indie rock, probably Cafe Bourbon Street.
It's time for One Big Question with Chris DeVille beyond the mic. Chris, what's the one opinion from your book that people might be mad at, but you will die on that hill?
The 1975 great band.
Wow. Where can people find you online?
I am on Instagram at Chris DeVille Official. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Blue Sky. And I have a Substack where I'm posting bonus content from the book.
He thinks the most underrated band of all time is 1975, loves watching Columbus Crew soccer, and wants you to read his incredible book, Such Great Heights, The Complete Cultural History of the Indie Rock Explosion. Chris DeVille, thanks for taking the time to talk with us today.
Thanks for having me.
And that, my friends, is a Beyond the Mic shortcut.
If you're enjoying these conversations, please check out another Beyond the Mic episode to find more actors, artists, and people you need to know. We'd also appreciate a like and subscribe on the Good Pods app.